Hey everybody, how y'all doing tonight? I'm hopeful that all is well with everyone. Coming in tonight so that I could make some vegetable chowder. I got that request from my cousin. So Tanya, I'm gonna shoot this video for you and hope that you like it. So the first thing that you'll need, well the first thing before we need anything is I'm gonna go over here and wash my hands again. Okay, sorry about that, y'all. The first thing that you'll need to get is 6 to 8 cups of water to boil in a nice stock pot. This isn't really a stock pot, but this is going to serve the purpose for what I'm doing because I'm only making enough for one. So if you're going to make this recipe, Tanya, and you want to increase the amount, you could use maybe 10 cups of water. And then as we go along, any vegetables that I use, feel free to just increase the amount. So I have my water boiling, and what I'm gonna add in here, I have at least, I'm gonna say at least 6 to 8 cups, but it's probably 6 cups now because I've had it boiling for a while. And the first thing that I'm gonna add in here is a pinch of salt. I have sea salt that I'm gonna use. My little grinder broke, so I'm gonna go ahead and just put a little bit up in there. Just a couple of little sprinkles like that. I have some carrots that I'm gonna add. I'll tell you all of the vegetables that I'm gonna add. I have carrots, fresh carrots. I have fresh string beans. I have two red potatoes. They're red skin, but they're white potatoes. I have 1 stalk of celery. I have 2 Roma tomatoes. I'm gonna use 2 Roma tomatoes, 1 Pablo pepper. I leave some of the seeds in because I like the flavor. I have 1 Mexican chili, and I have 2 or 3 of the little hot chilies because this vegetable chowder that I'm making is gonna be a hot and spicy one, but feel free to leave the peppers out of the recipe. I cut up a shallot. I'm going to use the shallots as opposed to the onions because they're a little softer, tender, and they're kind of sweet. So I used 1 pod, but in that pod was like 2 pieces of 2 whole pieces of shallots. So I just rough chopped the 2 that were in that pod. I also have, so I'm using fresh vegetables, and I'm also using a little bit of canned and frozen as well. So I have 3/4 cups of frozen organic corn and 1 12-ounce can of roasted tomatoes. I like the flavor of those tomatoes in the can. I'm gonna use the fresh ones, but I still like the roasted flavor, so I'm gonna use those as well. And then I have 4 tablespoons of, sorry about that, that's my oven letting me know that it's doing this thing. It's preheated to the temperature that I want it to be. So then I have 4 tablespoons of vegetable bouillon and 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. I have my red wine vinegar that I'm going to use and my fresh pepper that I'm going to grind up. So the first vegetable that I want to put in will be the carrots because they kind of take a little longer to cook, but I like to use the fresh carrots because I'm gonna drop something down there. Let me see if I can grab that without getting burned. Oh, I was successful. So I have my fresh carrots. Those 2, I'm gonna put those in because they take a little longer to cook, and I like for them to be really tender. Drop those bad boys in there, just like that. The next thing I'll do is put my pepper in there. So if you use like the Mexican peppers or the California style peppers, you can deseed them if you want to, but again, when I'm cooking with peppers, I usually leave my seeds in, and that's even when I use like bell pepper because I like the way the seeds taste. I may not use all of them, but at least half of those seeds are going into whatever dish I'm gonna make. So to put that in there, and I'm gonna put my hot chilies in there too. Those are These are really good. It does not take much. I like spicy food, and all I use is like, I have like these two and then a couple of little pieces that fell off in there. So I'll put those in there. Next, I'm gonna put my green beans in there. Green beans, string beans, all the same. I have cleaned everything, sprayed everything, cleaned them. I pulled the stems off, so make sure you guys pull the stems off the fresh string beans if you use those. And then you can kind of break them down if those are too long. Yeah, because sometimes like a little piece of the end can be like a little dark, so you want to break those off so it's not in your food. And that's about, again, this is like for one person, and so that was, I grabbed like 2 hands full of the string beans and broke those off. I don't need too many of those. And the good thing about this recipe is when you're done with it, as my cousin was saying, she was asking me, she was like, D, I want something, some kind of vegetable soup that I can freeze. This is perfect for that, because whatever I do not eat, I'm going to freeze it. So I won't even be eating this tonight. I'll be eating it maybe tomorrow for lunch. And so it'll be really good because it'll be nice and seasoned and everything. So that'll be good. I'm gonna put, I use an entire Pablo pepper. That's the entire pepper. I like that. And the reason why I'm using that pepper as opposed to a green pepper, because when I eat my vegetable chowder, I'm more than likely going to serve it either over some white rice or either some brown rice. And so the texture of the Pablo pepper is pretty good. And I like to use these peppers anytime I'm using like a tomato base. Just tastes so good to me. So I'm going to take my 2 Roma tomatoes, drop those in there, just like that. Y'all notice it's kind of sad around here. I don't have any music on because they keep blocking my videos, you know? That is so not cool. But I wanted to make sure that I was giving like really good instructions and directions. And so I kind of chilled on the music so that they won't bleep anything out. You know, they'll silence the videos. And so I decided not to go with any music tonight. So I'm going to get the rest of my tomatoes in there. And then I'm also going to pick up my shallots. Shallots are really good in any type of dish that you add potatoes, I'm sorry. Anytime you're using potatoes, you can add a shallot. They're a little bit more pricier than like the white onion, the white, yellow, or purple onions, because they're really small, but I still like them. So I kind of indulge in them every once in a while. Grab my little seeds. I'm gonna put my celery in there too. You can cut that celery smaller too, if you like. One thing about celery, and I always try to tell people, is when you're cooking with celery, and now that it's getting cooler, we tend to do like a lot of soups and chowders and you know, things like gumbo and things like that. But if you're gonna use celery, you have to make sure that if that dish is gonna be out for a number of hours, you need to let it cool and then refrigerate it, because if not, the celery will make that dish go bad. You know, it'll bubble and just, you know, everybody's gonna get sick and all this weird stuff. So you have to make sure that you know, if you're gonna eat it within like maybe a 4-hour period or something like that, that's okay. But if you making like a large amount of gumbo or something, or soup, and you cooking it in the morning and you're going to serve it like later in the day, I would chill out on that celery until it's almost time to serve it. Then you can kind of like cut it back on and drop that celery in there if it's necessary. If you don't need it, don't add it. But if the recipe calls for it and it's a necessity, then put it in there, but just wait until it's like almost time to serve it and then just add it in last. That's just my suggestion, you know. But, you know, y'all can do whatever you want to do. So then I'm gonna add my white potatoes. See, red potatoes don't take long to cook, so that's why they're going in last. So let's put those right on in there. I'm gonna cut this potato a little bit more. And because I'm gonna serve this over rice, I only use like 2 red potatoes. I don't know if I said tomatoes the first time, but if I did, I was trying to say red potatoes. So I added the 2 red potatoes, but I really didn't want like a lot of starch in there. I could have done without them, but I may want to eat this soup without that rice, and so I would look for that little starch from the potatoes. So that's why I just added the 2 in there. And then I'm gonna add my corn and my fire roasted tomatoes with my bouillon base. I'm using the vegetarian bouillon base, but you can use whatever type of bouillon base you want. That's just for the seasoning. Or you don't have to use any at all, because sometimes I make this and I don't use any. So I'm gonna add that in there. Just like that. And I'm gonna wash my hands off a little bit, y'all. So I have my salt in there already. I just use like a little bit of salt because that sea salt, you don't need much of it. So just a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and give my soup a couple of spins of black pepper. I like pepper. So you don't have to use as much as I'm using. If you're gonna do this and you're making like a large portion, if you're not using this and you're just using ground black pepper, just use like maybe 1 tablespoon. But if you like it spicy, you can use up to 3. It'll just enhance the flavor. It won't do anything else. Not gonna harm the dish at all. Y'all know I love me some tangy stuff, so I gotta add me a couple of dashes of my vinegar. This is my red wine vinegar. So I'll put a little bit of that in there. And that's maybe about 3 tablespoons that I've just added. So that's what I want in there. And then we're gonna let that cook. So I'm gonna cook it. I don't have this on. Normally I cook on like a high heat. You guys know that because I like to cook my food like that. Let me turn my food off. Hold on. So I'm making some. I'm sorry. I'm gonna switch from my recipe for the soup just to tell you guys that I'm making Grecian chicken for dinner. So I have my Grecian chicken and I have my homemade yellow rice that everybody loves. That's my little signature dish. So maybe one day I'll make that for you guys, but I'm not promising. That's like my special little recipe. But anyway, for my soup, I'm going to let this cook on medium high for approximately 30 minutes. I don't like soggy vegetables, so that'll be perfect for me. And when this soup is done, you guys could, the Mexican pepper or the California pepper, whichever one you guys chose to use, you can just take that out. I'm just using it for the flavor, but I'm not gonna eat that or anything like that. So I'm gonna let this cook, and then I'll be back with the finishing results for you guys. One more thing that I'm gonna add in there, because I like this, is I'm gonna add 1 can of tomato paste, because I like that little richness that it gives it without having too many carbs. You know, it's really good. So I'll do that. Look, my mouth is watering and stuff. I'm thinking about the soup now. So yeah, I'll get that, let this cook. And I'm actually gonna put the lid on this soup too. So remember, you guys can increase any of the vegetables, increase the liquid. If you don't want to use water, feel free to use vegetable broth. So you can use like 6 to 8 cups of vegetable broth, or either 10 cups of vegetable broth, but I'm using water. You know, sometimes vegetable broth can have like too much sodium, and I'm already using a bouillon, so that was enough for me. Also, I want to say to my cousin Bridget, I owe you 2 cakes, darling. Because your cakes, out of everybody got good sweets and good food over the holiday for me. But my cousin Bridget, her order didn't come out quite the way that I wanted it to, and not at all how she anticipated it coming out. And that's okay, because I'm human. So I'm gonna redo that order, darling, and I'll give you a call so that you can come and pick that up, and you guys can enjoy that food. So I'll probably make you like a butter pound cake, and then I'm gonna redo your red velvet cake too, so that way you guys can enjoy that experience, you know. And with that being said, I want everybody to know that being accountable for something that you've done wrong, it's okay. You know, like everybody knows that the kitchen is my domain, and I get down with the get down. Like out of all of the people that got sweets from me, I mean, I'm talking like at least 40 to 50 people that wanted some of the good food that I cooked, because I put my heart and soul in it. So at least 40 or 50 people got excellent food, but then one customer, one family member did not enjoy her meal. And so I want to make sure that she gets everything that she anticipated from me. And so I'm bringing that up to say that as a human being, we need to leave room for error. I'm not saying that let people just run over you or let people just do anything or just accept all types of complaining or anything like that. But I know that that it's not even her character to complain. And so I want to correct that situation. I'm going to redo her cakes so that they can enjoy them, because I am human. And, you know, I always try to remember to leave room for error for other people. So that way, when it's my turn, someone's leaving a little bit of room for me to correct my errors and to be a better person and do better things, you know, getting rid of the ego. So I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Deuces.